Where do you think you're going, fancy pants? Welcome to Rubber Chicken with a podcast in the middle, the internet's only podcast exclusively devoted to the Monkey Island series of adventure games. I'm Alastair.
I'm the Spitmaster, also known as Gordon.
And this week, we're going to follow up our Secret of Monkey Island retrospective with a retrospective on Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge.
Oh yes, it's all leading up to this.
There's only 2 weeks left until Return to Monkey Island comes out, or less than.
This is episode 20. Unbelievable.
Major milestone.
Congratulations to us.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this point.
There are 4 times as many episodes of this podcast as there are currently released Monkey Island games as of time of recording.
And a billionth the quality.
Before we begin, do we want to talk about Monkey Island Monday of the Monday just gone by?
Let's do it. We're a bit more timely this week.
Yeah, we got a little bit of dialogue with the new pirate leaders, Captain Madison and the other new leaders. As I predicted, Guybrush is like, where are the pirate leaders? You guys are in their spot.
Yeah. You know what I liked about this? Seeing how the dialogue flowed.
Yes.
A bit like seeing a scene from Secret, but with the flowing dialogue, unlike Special Edition.
Yeah, the timing seemed to be good, and there were some nice animated close-ups of the different pirate leaders as well. To add that cinematic quality.
Yeah, it certainly looked nice. Gave it a nice bit of flow.
Yeah, and interesting to note that these hip young pirate leaders are real dicks. So I'm curious to see how that's going to be treated in the game.
It looks like, from what they're saying, Guybrush is not actually a pirate.
Not by their reckoning. They certainly don't know who he is.
Not by their standard.
And they
No.
suggesting that the 3 trials were made up by the pirate leaders.
And that Guybrush is old.
Yeah.
Past it.
Yeah. And they're not interested in him going on a mission to Monkey Island or anything like that.
No, apparently not.
So I have a feeling that, there's... From what we've seen in the trailers and stuff, this is going to feed into the plot in some way, that these 3 characters are going to either steal his idea from him, or maybe they're going to completely get the wrong end of the stick and have a completely different view of what pirating involves. And
yeah,
they talk about raiding and stuff. Maybe they're more like real pirates. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, like that makes me wonder. It makes me wonder. How's this going to tie into the end of LeChuck's Revenge? All this kind of pirates were one thing and now that they're the other. That kind of idea.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because there was also a new interview with Ron and Dave on Ars Technica, and there was a question here. I don't know, spoilers beware potentially, but I think this is what we basically already knew. They asked Ron and Dave, how much can you tell us about how the game begins? And Ron says, Guybrush has returned to Melee because his unfinished business in the story is that he never found the actual secret of Monkey Island. And he really wants to actually find the secret. So he's decided to mount a voyage back to Monkey Island, and he's back on Melee to try to, hire a crew, get a ship, and all these things he did in the first game. But when he arrives, he finds that things have changed quite a bit since he was last here. They ask him, how long has it been? Ron says, I'm not sure I want to say yet. Because while the game starts right after Monkey Island 2 LeChuck's Revenge, things get really bizarre at that point, and so I don't really want to kind of go into that level of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued.
It's intriguing.
Yeah. So I think something very weird is going to happen that gets Guybrush from the amusement park to back to Melee Island, and I still feel like the later games are going to have happened on some level, so I'm going to be interested to see how that works.
There was some article with Ron and Dave where they talked, or I think Ron talked about what they would pick out of the canon and what they would decide
Yeah.
to ignore.
Yeah.
Things like Ron said he was like anti-marriage, therefore he wouldn't have had
Yeah.
Guybrush and Elaine married,
Yeah.
but they decided to just kind of go with it. But there were also things that they would just, if they didn't want to do it, they would just ignore it.
Yeah.
I think that's what we can expect.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll have to throw up the links to these articles in the notes in case anyone missed them. He also said, which harks back to what we talked about a few weeks ago, he talks about The Secret of Monkey Island. He said that was the title of the first game, but we never really explored the title literally. At one moment, there was a huge kind of backstory, and there was actually a secret. As we started developing the game, though, that just kind of fell away, and we really just stopped paying attention to it. So I think that pretty much syncs up exactly with what we were speculating a few weeks ago, right?
So, yeah.
That initially there was a secret, was this important idea, and then it kind of didn't end up being important in the game that eventually actually got made, but it got kept on as the title and this bit of motivation for in the background. And so interesting.
So check out our episode
Yeah.
on the real Secret of Monkey Island for endless waffle about
episode
that.
17, yeah.
Just to conclude the news,
Yep.
I think there was a nice little tweet from Ron saying, I assume this was metaphorical, but that the last of the development team's luggage was picked up
Yeah.
from his house.
Yeah.
And that he was a little emotional that it was all over and that it's been a fun experience
Yeah.
to make the game. So I assume it's all done and dusted, all tested, debugged,
Sounds like
ready
it.
to flick the switch.
Yeah, with less than 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, we're counting down.
And how we're counting down is by reminiscing about the first 2 Monkey Island games, of which are about to get some kind of alternative or new sequel in a few days' time, just over a week and a half.
Yeah, I have this weird feeling, especially talking about LeChuck's Revenge, that my perception of it is going to change, and that I've only got this limited amount of time in which to enjoy my current perception of it.
That's interesting that you say that, because I feel like whatever this new game is, I feel like it's going to be Ron and Dave's 30 years later speculation of how to continue that story, and I feel like it's not going to change it for me.
Yeah,
it's interesting that you
too.
say that, because I get it totally, because I have had similar thoughts, but yeah, it's I guess I'll save what I'm going to say for this discussion as we get into it, because I think it's time for us to hitch a ride to Scab Island and start our discussion of Monkey Island 2: LeChuck's Revenge.
This feels somewhat momentous to me because I love this game.
Yeah. I wanted to bring this up. This is probably my favorite computer game of all time.
Yeah, mine too, I think.
We talked last week about the idea of Secret as being kind of the best one in the series, in a kind of as the most complete one, the most kind of perfect in that sense. But is Monkey Island 2 a perfect sequel?
Yeah, quite possibly. It's hard. It'd be hard to do any better, I think.
It takes
What are your
ideas and concepts from and characters from the first game and expands upon them. And it does it very well, and it does it in a way that is so effective, in my opinion, that it's really surprising to think that they started making it almost immediately after they finished making the first one, because this feels like a sequel that was made after they'd taken time to kind of meditate on the first game.
Yeah. I think it feels like a bit of time has passed, kind of literally, within universe.
Yeah. it feels like the characters have time's passed for them, but it feels like time would have passed for Rod, Dave, and Tim as well. And yet, as we know, hardly any time had passed at all. But maybe time was just passing faster then because they were getting so much done in such a short space of time.
Yes. Also, they're living with the story of the first game for a lot longer than we did, right?
That's
the
true.
public did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there are certain elements. Take for example, Guybrush and Elaine's relationship that feels like there's been some time and thought given to it.
Yeah.
Then the events have occurred between the two games. And yeah, it does feel odd that this came is development practically straight away without permission.
Yeah, they just decided to go ahead and make a sequel without running it past any kind of management or anything. Lucas Arts, as it was now named.
Yeah.
And at the time, as far as I know, it was actually a bit of a failed experiment. From an artistic perspective, this incredible achievement. Commercially, it was a flop. It sold about a quarter as many copies as the first game, and I wonder if it was too soon for a sequel.
Yeah, well, they kind of decided that it was going to be a success before it was, maybe.
Yeah.
Secret.
But it just needed time, I think.
Sure. Yeah, but I'm so thankful that it exists in the form that it does.
Yeah.
So okay, well, do you want to start with our experience?
That was what I was going to say.
Experience.
Talk about time passing. We talked about how we played Secret in kind of 1993 probably, and then that's you remember better than I, and it probably took us into 1994.
I would think so, yeah.
So when did we first play LeChuck's Revenge?
We had definitely finished Secret.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if we knew if there was a Monkey Island 2. I think we did, but we didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, I don't know if I knew that there was another one or not. I feel like it was pretty amazing to discover that there was this whole additional game to get straight into.
My memory is that we saw a big box of Monkey Island 2 at a shop in the town that we lived in.
Right.
And we pored over the back cover and saw all of these different things. There was a picture of Governor Fat, there was LeChuck's Fortress.
Yeah.
And kind of it fired our imagination. Wow, look at all this stuff. What's that? Who's that?
Yeah, I remember reading that Memoirs of Guybrush Threepwood on the back of the box.
Yes. And I vaguely remember the cover art. I don't think I remembered what it looked like, but I was impressed by it.
I remember that cover art sticking really vividly in my head from when I was a kid, but I don't know if it was when we first saw it or maybe we saw a copy of it again later, possibly.
Possibly later. But once again, this is the best game ever, and this is the best video game cover ever.
Yeah. Yeah, this was, especially when you knew the first game like we did.
Yeah.
This felt like this was like a sequel made for people who loved the first game, right? This wasn't your soft, easy back in. Maybe this is, you're new to the series, the games kind of thing. This is a sequel to Secret, which follows on from all this stuff, and if you played that game, you're gonna get so much out of it.
Yeah, exactly. If you love that, then wait till you play this.
Yeah, seeing Guybrush in agony with his hands on his head on the cover, and LeChuck looks
huge,
so cool.
Lavish, lavish illustration of LeChuck holding the voodoo doll on the deck of a ship.
Yeah,
but of course never actually happened. But that's the beautiful creative license of cover art.
Supposedly Ron said to Steve Purcell that he wanted this is how much control he had over it, that he was even choosing what the box art looked like. He wanted the cover art to look like the cover of an old novel, and it really does. It really does.
Yes, I have a poster of the secret art hanging in my home, and the only reason I don't have LeChuck's Revenge is because I thought it would be too scary and too downbeat. Because it's it's such a striking image.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to have a poster of this.
Yeah.
Even the Guybrush voodoo doll that's in the Secret of Monkey Island outfit and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, really sticks in my memory.
Yeah. So we didn't actually play this until, once again, we borrowed a copy of the LucasArts CD Game Pack 2
Yep.
for Mac.
Even more Monkey Island, even more Indiana Jones.
Yeah, so that contained a copy of The Secret of Monkey Island, and as it said on the cover of the box, The Secret of Monkey Island 2,
Yep.
and Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
Yeah.
So once again, we played this kind of in parallel with Fate of Atlantis, which is also one of my favourite video games.
Yeah, a game I've played a million times. And as a kid, for reasons that I'm sure we're about to go into, I actually played a lot more than Monkey Island 2.
Yeah, we'll go into that. But I think Monkey Island 2 was the thing we were definitely most excited about. And I remember seeing the icon appear on the desktop of the Mac, and it's a picture of LeChuck's face.
Yeah.
And just thinking, wow, what's this? And we opened it up, and I thought, oh, this is Monkey Island 2.
Yeah.
And it was very exciting, and the dancing monkeys in the opening credits sequence.
Yeah, immediately coming in with the gags.
Yeah, just thinking that was hilarious. And I was happy then, forever after.
Just that, and the image also, sticks in my mind of Guybrush sitting around the fire with Bart and Fink. Really sticks in my memory from being a kid, and having Guybrush talking about blowing up LeChuck was like, yeah, we did that. we did that in the game.
Yeah, remember we just did that. Yeah, so as you say, if you were a fan of the series, if you were a fan of the first game, there was a lot here to enjoy, to really sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
It was very exciting meeting Guybrush again and seeing where he was, even just seeing him in a new costume.
Oh yeah, as a kid I loved the way Guybrush looked as well. The big
All
coat
rugged.
and the boots and everything. I'm like, I want to dress like that.
Yeah, I did dress like that once, if you remember.
Yeah. Many, many years later.
Many years later, with my own beard. Yeah, okay, when was the last time you played through Monkey Island 2? Recently?
I briefly played a bit of it today.
Okay. I've been playing through it over the last few days. I finished it today. I've finished it twice this year. I've played through it.
Okay, I've probably played through it about 4 times in the last couple of months, but that was recording footage and stuff like that. But...
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So I played DOS, the DOS version on my phone on ScumVM, because that's been the most convenient way for me to play it.
Yeah.
At the moment. You played through Mac, I believe.
Yeah, I recently replayed. Not that there's a great deal of difference between the versions of this game. Amiga has less music. I have played the Amiga version. I have played the FM Towns version on ScumVM as well, which cuts the cliff face puzzle from the game for reasons of vertical scrolling, which the FM Towns couldn't do, apparently.
Yeah.
And we discovered that before that article that came out recently.
We did.
There's another thing I have to talk about in terms of me discovering things about this game. We'll get to that.
There's a bigger one that you discovered.
Yeah. And I'm going to put the link that has the year that proves that I discovered this first.
You definitely
I was the first person in the world to discover this thing, as far as I know, about Monkey Island 2. Anyway, we'll get to that.
We will. Yeah, so initial impressions as a child, this was very exciting.
Yeah.
I managed to play through up until the beginning of part 3.
Yeah.
I managed to get through the 4 map pieces, and then I could not figure out the puzzle in LeChuck's fortress.
Yeah.
With the bone statues on the wall. I just couldn't figure it out, and then the computer had to go back to the high school that it came from, and it was a few years later before I managed to actually finish the game.
Yeah, after we'd played Curse, I'm fairly sure.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, yeah, it should be pointed out that this was on this CD game pack. These LucasArts adventure game packs were distributed with CD drives, which is why they were so proliferate in schools and stuff. This version that we had CD copy protection on it. It did not come with the Mix and Mojo wheel.
No.
CD Game Pack 1 came with the Dial-A Pirate wheel, but CD Game Pack 2 didn't come with the Mix and Mojo wheel, which I didn't know existed for many years.
No, nor did I.
It didn't have the copy protection screen, and it didn't have the difficulty choice screen either.
No.
I didn't know that existed for a long time either.
Do you have data to back this up that this is actually copy protection that we're discussing?
No.
No,
I don't have...
But
I can't confirm that.
But I believe it is. So...
The fact that it didn't come with the Mix and Mojo wheel suggests... and there was no screen for entering the Mix and Mojo numbers suggests to me that it had a different form of copy protection built into it.
Yes. I'm not sure how discussed this is, but we eventually got our own home computer that could run this kind of game, and we borrowed a copy of the CD and copied it onto the hard disk, and then it would corrupt after the first play. The game would corrupt itself, and you would be unable to play it anymore. And I assume that was copy protection coming into play.
Yeah, Fate of Atlantis would work without the CD in the drive, but yeah.
So we ended up playing Fate of Atlantis a lot.
Yeah.
And it took us a long time until we eventually got a copy of the 1996 CD Monkey Island Madness, I believe.
Yeah, which had the DOS version on it, didn't it? Or the Windows /DOS CD version. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although we didn't have a computer that could run DOS games until the early 2000s, if I recall correctly.
That's correct.
Which is why I'm fairly sure I didn't play Monkey Island 2 all the way to the end until the early 2000s.
Yeah. But then we played it a lot.
Yeah, I have a very distinct memory of you getting up to the bone puzzle in LeChuck's Fortress and being like, I'm following the lyrics and it's not working.
Yeah.
Because it's...
but that was my 10-year-old brain or whatever.
Yeah, and the other thing that I remember is that when you were playing this to the end the first time, so we moved cities and you'd gone back to our birthplace to visit a friend, I'm fairly sure, and you were playing it with your friend.
Yeah.
And you called me up because you were in the tunnels under Dinky Island.
Yeah.
And we had a Mac magazine CD, Mac format, I believe, with a bunch of walkthroughs for different games on it. And you asked me to read stuff to you from the walkthrough to help you get through it.
Yeah.
And I remember being a kid and reading this walkthrough for Monkey Island 2. And I kind of didn't want to, but I couldn't help myself. And so my initial impression of the ending of Monkey Island 2 was based on this walkthrough I read. So I had no idea what was actually going on. It was very confusing to read without any context and without any visuals. I was like, okay, so Guybrush switches on a light switch, he picks up a skull, he pushes a button on a vending machine, and it wasn't until probably, I reckon, late 2000, early 2001 that we actually got...
We got the PC.
A Windows running PC. I'm wondering if I didn't play Monkey Island 2 all the way through to the end until after we'd played Escape all the way through to the end.
Ugh.
Quite
possibly.
possibly.
Yet in the meantime, Monkey Island 2 has become the favourite.
Yes. I mean, it was already my favourite when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'd just never seen the ending until
Well,
quite
I think
a
that
bit
says a
later.
lot. I think that says a lot about the game. The fact that maybe even the first part and the first two parts are the bulk of the game and what make it so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely part 2.
Yeah, going to different islands was so... It felt like such a sense of adventure.
Yeah.
Being able
the
to
fact
go to
that
these different places.
Even just playing it today, just all the different locations and all of the characters and the writing and just gazing off into the distance over the ocean.
Yeah, yeah. I love that shot of Dread's ship from the back
Yeah.
and Guybrush standing there. I'm off to find Big Whoop.
Big whoop. Yeah. But then he realises he doesn't really know where he's going to go.
Yeah.
You've only got the option of 3 islands, one of which is the island you already came
on,
from.
yeah. Yeah, I remember as a kid thinking that Booty Island was my favourite because that was the one where it seemed like you were safe and you didn't get into any kind of trouble.
Yeah.
Whereas on
I think
that
Booty
island
Island's
you got
probably...
thrown in jail.
Yeah. And it's very sinister. Governor Fat's very sinister. I think Booty Island probably still is my favourite. There's a lot to love there, from the spitting contest to your confrontation with Elaine, the party, the big tree, everything.
The dream.
The dream, yeah. There's so much happens on Booty Island.
Yeah.
And the fact that it is possibly in parallel with Big Whoop background at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uncannily.
I remember the dream sequence and seeing the amusement park at the end, and as we've talked about before, being like, hang on, isn't this Ville de la Boutique?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. And I remember as a kid thinking that Stan's previously owned coffins was really morbid. I found that quite unsettling.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, because it's a pretty dark joke. There's a lot of fairly dark humour in this game that I think as a kid I found quite confronting. I've discussed in a previous episode my fear of Rapscallion when I was
definitely.
a little kid.
Awesome animation. And just the fact that you have to explain that he's dead and then go turn the gas off.
Yeah, going into the crypt and the feet hanging out of that coffin.
Yeah.
That's sticking up from the ceiling.
There's like a head hanging down.
Yeah.
Like a skull. Yeah.
Yeah. It was. There's a lot of eerie stuff that I remember spooked me a bit as a kid, and yet at the same time it was all very intriguing as well.
It's all fascinating. I mean, that dream sequence with the dancing skeletons that are kind of confronting and also funny, and then LeChuck appearing and turning into Guybrush from the first game.
Yeah.
You recognise
LeChuck in the blue coat.
Yeah.
Suggesting that there's some kind of connection between him and Guybrush. And of course he turns into Guybrush at the end of the dream.
Sprays him with the root beer.
It's all very, well done, all of this stuff. These little teasers of something below the surface that doesn't really bear out until the ending, but it's really, really well done.
Yeah, well, the tone kind of shifts throughout the game, right?
Yeah.
So initially, it does feel very piratey.
Yeah.
And from Scab Island, we move on, and it slowly becomes more and more weird. Things become more unsettling.
All the
carnival
carnival stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. The design around LeChuck's fortress is just... You remember first seeing that and thinking, man, that looks so cool.
Yeah, I thought LeChuck's fortress was incredible when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I loved castles and big buildings and stuff, you know.
That first kind of entrance area, it's like an Escher.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah, with the stairs
illustration.
winding up and
Yeah.
And seeing those strange orange rooms, it's LeChuck's Fortress is almost like a House of Horrors kind of thing. It's like it's not a real building. It's just all these trick doors and fake passageways and stuff.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's intentional, but yeah.
LeChuck says to Largo, I just wanted to mention this because I thought of it today. LeChuck says to Largo, find him or die.
Yeah.
Right? Find Guybrush. Do you think that eventuated because Largo didn't find Guybrush?
Yeah, Guybrush had to come to him.
Yeah, LeChuck sorted it out in the end.
Do you think LeChuck was... Largo was blown up when in the fortress?
Yeah, quite possibly. Did he fly somewhere else, maybe?
Or did...
Where did...
I was going to say, did Guybrush stab him in the back or set him on fire, a la the optional puzzle solutions in Chris Jusko's MI2?
Yeah.
Forgetting
well,
Largo's mobile phone. See, if I said that wasn't from that fan game, you'd almost think that was actually from Monkey Island.
You'd almost believe it.
Yeah, LeChuck's Fortress was really cool, and LeChuck himself looked so cool, as we've talked about as well.
It's that great walking animation. Like the big spitting mouth as he...
Yeah. And
his dialogue's so great.
He looks so just solid. LeChuck.
Yeah. Solid and menacing. That whole sequence about him turning Guybrush into his screaming chair.
Yeah.
That's a horrific image.
Yeah.
He didn't mention what's going to happen to me.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that was a scene again that I didn't see until much later, right? Because we never got past that room. But I remember as a kid seeing the cutscenes of LeChuck's office and being really confused about LeChuck's voodoo throne. Because it's meant to be a desk with a huge chair behind it.
Yeah.
But it looks like a really big, awkwardly shaped chair.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, how would LeChuck sit on that? The seat's really high and really long. It's meant to be a desk. But I couldn't.
Also, why would he need an office? He's meant to be a pirate.
Well, because originally it was El Carlo's office. As we now know. But yeah, that's a great comedy thing as well. The fact that LeChuck's Fortress has an office, and there was the cut. Yeah. There's a cut room as well, which is like a voodoo laboratory that had a blender or something in it, I believe. Peter Chan artwork exists of that, but it was never incorporated in the final game.
Well, while we're riffing on LeChuck's Fortress, let's talk about the lost cutscenes.
Yeah.
You know you want to.
Yeah, so there's a cutscene every time you find a map piece to Big Whoop. Assuming you're travelling from one island to another in between finding each piece. But in the game's script there is an additional cutscene at the beginning where LeChuck says to Largo, I hear Guybrush is looking for Big Whoop. Largo says yes. He says don't let him find it. Largo says why? Who cares? It's just some money, isn't it? And LeChuck says it's not the treasure that concerns me, it's what's buried beneath the treasure that's important.
Yeah.
Guybrush must not find the lost treasure of Big Whoop. Because I remember as a kid thinking, why does LeChuck even care that Guybrush is searching for Big Whoop? From his point of view, isn't it, just a treasure, like Largo says? And then I was in the special edition editor, or the viewer thing where you can listen to all the dialogue, and there were these Earl Bowen lines, and I was like, I don't remember these. Is this some new thing for the special edition that didn't get used or something? But no, it was in the script, and I wrote a blog post about it back in 2015 on my personal blog.
Yeah,
and I'll put a link to it again in the comment or the info, because this revealed that in the game's script, LeChuck knew that there was something buried underneath Big Whoop the whole time.
Yeah.
It got cut. My guess is probably it got cut because it gave away too much about the ending of the game. That's my standing theory about why that cutscene was deleted. Or maybe there was just no room for it. I don't know. But yeah, pacing reasons or something. But it adds to the mystery of what's going on.
Yeah,
Quite significantly, I think. What was it that LeChuck didn't want Guybrush to find? Was it the entrance to another world? Was it his parents' remains? What was it? Was it LeChuck's secret tunnel system that he uses to get from Monkey Island to Melee Island? Or something? I don't know. But
yeah.
maybe we'll find out. I don't think so.
Maybe all will be revealed.
Yeah, and this, of course, was revealed properly when Ron showed the source code of the Video Game History Foundation a couple of years ago. Yeah. And we saw those more animated cutscenes with the close-ups of Largo and LeChuck, the ones that didn't make it into the final game. Yeah. And they said there's this additional cutscene. And I was like, I found this cutscene first. It was me.
I know about it.
I posted about this. And I couldn't help but comment on the video for that cutscene that they posted saying, I found this in the script a number of years ago. Did
you get much feedback from that?
A couple of likes, I think. But there was, before that video came out, there's some kind of wiki or something that has my article linked to it about like cut content from games, and there's the article about Monkey Island 2 has my blog post linked on it from a while back, because I don't think anyone ever confirmed it, but it's there in the script. Look up script dump of Monkey Island 2. The link is in the blog post.
The link is in the blog post. Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So well done, you.
This is when I was going through one of my obsessive
journalism.
Must figure out what's going on at the end of Monkey Island 2 phases. Because when I did eventually play through this, I just was obsessed with trying to unpick the ending and figure out what was really going on.
Yeah, well, as you should be. What else have you got to do with your time? Okay, so general highlights from Monkey Island 2. What stood out? Everything.
Yes.
Scenes. Here's a scene that I really liked. Mm-hmm. When Guybrush goes back to the voodoo lady and is kind of panicked, asking her about whether they're able to resurrect LeChuck from his beard. And she says yes, it's possible.
Largo's taken the beard, yeah.
And then she starts to talk on a personal level about Guybrush's adventures thus far and his personality and where that's led him into losing so much.
Yeah,
that's a really nice scene.
Yeah, very, very powerful, well written. I think we talked about this before. It's very succinct dialogue as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Says a lot in a few words, yeah.
Yeah. And that was really this era of game. I think Fate of Atlantis really did that as well.
Yeah.
Relay the information that you needed without labouring it. Yeah. Unlike this podcast, of course. Yeah, that really stuck out to me on a recent playthrough. That and the conversation with Elaine in her bedroom. I assume it's meant to be her bedroom, or wherever she receives Guybrush in the top of her mansion. And also the fact that once she throws the map out the window, you leave the room and come back, she's gone.
Yeah.
I remember as a little kid seeing that scene and thinking, oh, she threw herself out of the window. But no, I don't think that's not really implied. But the fact that she's just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
I always really liked that. And I liked the scene where Guybrush kind of has to win her back and can say all these horribly insulting things that you'd never say to anyone if you choose to explore that avenue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember that very clearly. Some things that stick out in my memory when Largo accosts you at the beginning and he says there's no police on Scab Island. My
Who
favourite
eats the
response
donut?
is always, who eats all the donuts and roughs up transients?
Yeah.
Always stuck in my head even when I was a kid.
Him dangling Guybrush off the bridge. It's always funny.
Yeah, and jokes about cops eating donuts must have at least on some level filtered down to me, unless this is where I got became aware of the concept.
Yeah.
Would
I feel like that scene felt
go on.
like kind of, after coming off Secret, you're like, okay, they've really ramped up the personality in this game and the comedy, and you kind of got you ready for what it was going to be like. Like this is going to be a fun time.
The animation as well was so...
Yeah, the animation. Him like just dangling Guybrush off the bridge.
Yeah.
You kind of think, whoa, where did this come from? You wouldn't see this in Secret, you know?
Yeah, and it's funny to look at that and think about even adventure games that made now. And I get it, animation is hard. But when you see you do something complex and it fades out and fades back in again so that the developer didn't have to animate the action... Stuff like this is what sets a game like this apart from
Absolutely.
other things, right? Yeah, wood tick in general, we kind of talked about this a bit in our Largo Embargo episode, but wood tick is Monkey Island 2's prime location, right? Isn't it? The music, the different locations within it, just that sight of the bridges going across, linking the different wrecked ships together, really sticks in my head from when we were kids.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying, this felt like more, but it felt like something new and different, but in a good way.
It was
Completely.
like more, but also so much more.
Yeah, it felt like such an evolution, and it does feel like that still playing it. The games are similar, but they are different as well.
Yeah.
And even the visual language is different.
Yeah. Like Melee was a pirate town, but this is a town made of like shipwrecks, and
this is a
nailed together.
more exaggerated. This is a more kind of hyper piratey.
Yeah, really, really romantic kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like you and I wouldn't even mention it now, but the image of Guybrush getting into a floating coffin and rowing through a swamp, like that was just so morbid and funny and ridiculous. And now you kind of don't think of it as almost a thing that kind of slows the game down, but like that's such a great thing. And the image of the International House of Mojo kind of swallowing you up into this kind of suspended hut. It's beautiful stuff.
Really, really nice visually, and that's another one that really does stand out. The coffin.
Yeah, there was a lot of love given to the visual design in this.
Yeah. And as you say, a lot of this very morbid imagery, coffins, stands, previously owned coffins, etc. as well.
Yeah, yes. This is kind of what they wanted Pirates of the Caribbean to be, I reckon.
Yeah.
But this is so much more than that.
Yeah, this is so much better.
Yeah.
And we'll probably go into why as we go through, because I have some theories about that. But
okay.
Other things I remember very fondly: the pants falling down, grave robbery.
Yeah.
Classic scene from Monkey Island 2.
Yeah.
One of the funniest scenes in the entire series.
Yep.
And we talked about the dream sequence already. Another thing that really stands out to my memory is stealing the fish from Elaine's house.
Yeah, actually, I was going to mention that. I have a very vivid memory of working that puzzle out the first time. Because I did it around going out to dinner at a Chinese restaurant. That's a very trivial fact.
It's funny how these things set off your memories, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I remember that really clearly as well. And the thrill of having the cook chase after you. Oh, what happens if he catches up to you? Is he going to chop up Guybrush with that meat cleaver?
Yeah,
well, no, he just
cut your head off.
He just scowls at you and walks away.
Well, yeah, you kind of... This is one of the things when you become so familiar with these games is you forget kind of the joy of figuring out these puzzles the first time.
Yeah.
And the experimentation. and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because, like, that kind of gets a bit buried in the past. But if you can kind of cast your mind back and remember those things, there was a certain emotional connection to a lot of those things.
Yeah, and it really helped that there was so much music and the game looked so good as well.
Yeah. Well, the soundtrack is ramped up, the graphics are ramped up.
Yeah, the animation. Yeah, the sprite animation is really top notch. We've talked about the crunchy scanned artwork, but
that doesn't mean it doesn't look good. I was looking at it today; it still looks incredible.
By and large, it all looks really good. There's one thing I noticed and the reason I was playing it today was I wanted to check this, is that on Rum Rogers' beach, the sea is not animated. And I'm wondering, and it is pretty much everywhere else.
There are a few. It's not animated on the cliff when you look down the cliff.
Yeah. There are a few scenes that look a bit static, and I wonder if that was time related. They thought, oh, this room is so unimportant. Don't bother animating the environment here, because it is in most areas, but.
Rum Rogers Island and his cottage is another scene that sticks out vividly to me, especially with the grotesque monkey statue and the drinking competition. I think also because I figured out it's kind of one of the most infamous puzzles, right? Is turning off the waterfall.
Yeah.
And I remember I figured that out myself as a child, but I think that just came from just kind of randomly trying stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking about this as well, because that always gets spoken about as really hard, and I don't think we ever made the association of a monkey wrench.
No.
I in my head it stands as being us, or probably you, just thinking, well, maybe Jojo can do something with the
what if I applied a monkey to this situation?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then finding that gap in the waterfall,
and the tunnels,
the tunnels. Yeah, it's good stuff.
There's a couple of things that come up from that. I distinctly remember you pouring out the drink into the plant.
Yeah,
and then us thinking that was enough.
Yes,
I have a memory of that, and then Rum goes, "Oh, I gotta fill you back up."
Yeah.
And it's like, there's something else you have to do.
Here,
but the other thing I wanted to mention in regards to JoJo, and it comes up at other points in the game as well, as something that's had a huge impact on us, is Guybrush's facial expressions.
Yes.
This game. Guybrush grinning at the player and waggling his eyebrows up and down, and Guybrush when he climbs.
Disgusted.
Looking at you with his tongue sticking out and his eyes closed, and Guybrush pursing his lips and looking sheepishly left and right when he climbs out of the window of Bloody Lit Bar and Grill is another one.
Yes, I know what you're going to say.
You and I still do.
Yeah, we'll do those faces to each other.
Yeah.
It's like this game has like influenced our lives so much.
Yeah.
Like to that degree. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but just think as well that they achieved so much with so few pixels as well.
Yeah. That was the thing though, you didn't need that much more.
Yeah, and it's interesting I reference this video a lot, but Innuendo Studios' 3 Short Arguments about the Secret of Monkey Island, he sort of criticizes Monkey Island 2 for having Guybrush mug for the camera. But to me, that was part of Guybrush's character in this game, that he's more confident or maybe more arrogant, that he's sort of putting on a show, maybe even for himself or for his own amusement or for our amusement. And it's kind of because we are Guybrush, it kind of feeds into it. We're amusing ourselves, and he's part of that.
People will kind of do that in real life, right? They'll make their own sound effects when they do something, or they will kind of pretend to look at the camera, or look at themselves in the mirror, kind of thing. I guess that's kind of what Guybrush is doing here, right? There are moments where the fourth wall is broken. If you try to open the telescope, he says, "This isn't Monkey Island 1."
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
like that. Have a lot of trouble criticizing anything in here, I think, because I'm so blinded by love.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, rowing out to the International House of Mojo sometimes a little bit slow, but
Yeah, that's a bit slow. The only other thing I would probably accuse of being a little bit slow or difficult would be the boss fight with LeChuck at the end.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that, and you'll see in the footage, depending on how much I edit it, standing around in the vending machine room waiting for LeChuck to come in to pick up a coin. It's like he always comes into rooms where you don't want him to be, and he never seems to come in. He's there's clearly something programmed so that he will appear very readily at the lift entrance when you have the balloons and the gloves, but it seems to take ages to get him to come into the coin room a lot of the time. It would be interesting to know
how that was randomized.
Yeah, I wish there was a split second in which you could leave the room when LeChuck comes in and avoid getting locked into the teleportation sequence. Anyway, what were you going to say?
You have to. You should try, if you really want to challenge, giving him the handkerchief using the controls on ScumVM on a phone. That is definitely the most challenging part of the game.
Giving him the hanky is so irritating sometimes. You have to be close to where he comes in, and you only have like a split second to do it.
That's the thing with this final puzzle, is that if you didn't know what you were doing, you might just... like, it would take a long time to kind of figure everything out, because there's that kind of element of trial and error.
Yeah.
You know, how long is it going to take for you to figure out that you have to give him the hanky? I believe that there was a walkthrough that we had that didn't realise that you could actually finish the game, and thought that the game had this really abstract ending where you just kept getting zapped from room to room.
The dimension of infinite pain, perhaps.
Yeah, that was it.
That's pretty funny. Someone wrote it, and I can't finish it, so it must be unfinishable. That's a very 90s computer game kind of urban legend sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
When this false information gets passed around through CDs and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's no real way to ratify it elsewhere. Therefore, that's definitive.
Yeah,
your opinion.
You're some computer game nerd in some town in the US or something who's probably doesn't have the internet, has never met anyone else who's played Monkey Island or something, and writes up this walkthrough, and eventually it gets you can't finish it. It's unfinishable.
We had a similar experience finishing Myst. I'm not sure if you remember, where we just couldn't figure out the end, and then it was left there, and we never finished it. You can finish it.
Yeah. You can finish Myst very easily if you know what to do. You can finish it in about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
From the start, if you know what to do. Yeah. It's go on.
Contemporary to this game, Myst.
Yes. Yeah, I think my memories are just being incredibly impressed, but also a bit creeped out by the whole thing. That just it felt like this was so much bigger. There are more islands, there are more governors with governors' mansions, and Guybrush is a real pirate now, and he's got a beard and a cool coat, and LeChuck's back, and you gotta and then imagining what a third game would be like, even though I hadn't never seen the ending of the second one, and then Curse came along, but
and just all of the kind of extra stuff in the backgrounds and everything, the pub of food that Governor Fat has, and all the stuff around there, the prison, the jail cell, and all the stuff in LeChuck's Revenge, the huge candelabra thing that's made of a demonic-looking skull.
Yeah.
All this lavish design stuff.
What else stands out to me? The Mad Monkey. And
the Mad
getting
Monkey,
the figurehead. The excitement of going into the antique shop and seeing that map piece right there, but you couldn't buy it.
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
I think really just the open worldedness of part 2. I think part 2 is where that's kind of the ultimate Monkey Island experience if you're boiling it down that far.
Yeah. And
right?
and even though the map is really just a gate between a series of hub areas, it feels like this huge amount of area to explore, and it's something that none of the other games have done.
No, nowhere near. And they're crisscrossing back and forth, and things that are going to affect other things from different islands. It's just makes it feel so expansive.
Yeah.
And I really noticed on my recent playthrough that I completed today that after part 2, the game, if you know what you're doing, the game come to a very swift end. After that.
Yeah. You can get through. I got through all of LeChuck's Fortress when recording the footage in less than 4 minutes, I think, and that included going and talking to Wally.
Yeah, well, that's it. So, especially part 3 is tiny. It's kind of 2 puzzles, if that.
Yeah, part 3 is really short, but it's great because we've seen LeChuck's Fortress so many times, and you finally get to go there. But then there's the great anticlimax that you go there and then you just blow it up within such a short space of actually going there. But even stuff like the torture machine is so funny, like the ridiculous machine, and LeChuck explaining it so seriously. LeChuck always came. Earl Bowen in the special edition kind of played up the humor of it more, as you'd expect, but it always comes across as like LeChuck's being dead serious the whole time to me in the second game, which I like because it contrasts very well with how absurd the world is in which they exist. Yeah,
exactly. He's taking it all very seriously. I remember things like asking Wally to stop swinging and like just spitting on Wally.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Yeah, and going to Wally, I love you, man, when you're hanging from the thing. Or hey, Wally, how's it hanging?
Yeah.
That still makes me laugh.
Yeah, it was like perfect humour for the time.
Yeah.
For the age we were as well.
Yeah. What you're already doing? What, fiddling with the change in my pocket? That's
yeah. That's like another line that you and I will like quote to each other, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I guess that's what it really comes down to is the good writing.
Yeah.
The good writing on like a planning level and on a dialogue level.
Yeah.
You know, and is that kind of the hallmark of any good media?
Yeah, and I wonder if sort of necessity was the mother of invention here, in the sense that they did develop it in such a short space of time, and it sounds like it was quite iterative. They built part 1 and part of part 2, then they tested it. There are the tester's notes that we've seen.
Yeah. And giving Captain Dread the cheeseburger.
Yeah. And who was that who did those notes? Judith Lucero, I think was her name. And you can see that they were sort of really probably developing this up to the last minute. The El Carlo name is still associated with stuff that was painted by Peter Chan in the middle of 1991.
Yep.
This wasn't like these days where a big budget game would have months and months of kind of almost like a film style post-production being applied to it. It would have been coming down to the last weeks, and they didn't even have an ending in mind, as we've discussed already.
Yeah, and isn't that just kind of so testament to the quality of the people working on it?
Yeah.
They produce such a masterpiece, like this in this space of time, and we're still playing it. There's still so much to explore, and you're still finding new things in it.
Yeah. It's interesting to notice in the opening titles, there are a lot of people credited in it, a lot of animators particularly, but also the writing is also credited to. It's not just credited to Ron, Tim, and Dave. Also credited to Tammy Borowick and Brett Barrett as well.
Yeah.
So we think of this as just being Ron, Dave, and Tim, but really there was a pretty big team. Lots of animators. Larry Ahern worked on this many years before Curse. And I think I know Sean Clark and Mike Stemley actually worked on Secret. I'm not sure if they might have been working on other projects at the time that this was developed, but this whole group was sort of, and some of them stayed on, like Clark and Stemley and Schaefer and stuff stayed on many years later, but there were a lot of them in this sort of original project, I think, of these first two games. A lot of different people who went on to make a lot of not just Monkey Island sequels, but a lot of other great adventure games for LucasArts as well. This is the kind of development, again, not just for video games, but for lots of things that just doesn't get done anymore, where you have a company with all this in-house talent and this level of carte blanche afforded by management to let the artists do what they think is best.
I think a lot of this is owed to George Lucas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that I often get the feeling that, especially this era of Lucasfilm games and LucasArts, how focused were they even on profits? I don't even know.
Yeah, and to what extent was it about just trying to push the medium of computer gaming further?
Yeah. George Lucas was interested in that, and he set this up and just let them run, and that's why we've got all of these awesome games.
Yeah, and it was only later that with new management they went, Star Wars makes us more money, let's focus on that instead, when originally I think they were told you're specifically not making Star Wars stuff, I think was what they were told back in the early days.
Yeah, and thank goodness.
Yeah. As much as I would have loved for there to have been a Star Wars point-and-click adventure game.
Yeah, well, that was kind of always one of the dreams, right? But I'm so much prefer Monkey Islands and everything else, all of that creative
and it's
stuff.
And it is worth noting that after the poor sales of Monkey Island 2, they did go, okay, let's focus on other stuff, but then we did eventually get Curse, so...
We did, yeah. But we also got Day of the Tentacle, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and we probably wouldn't have gotten that if they'd made Monkey Island 3.
No, that's right.
Straight away.
Day of the Tentacle is kind of Monkey Island without Ron, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, getting back to LeChuck's Revenge, there's just... It's so big. We've already discussed at this point part 1 quite fully.
Yeah.
We were talking about we're going to come back and discuss the other parts. We were talking about possibly even making part 2 a two-parter.
Yeah. Two parts, 2 map pieces per episode.
Yeah. But then again, you could probably do part 3 and 4 as one.
Yeah, I think so. Because part 3 is so short, but
we will come back and do that.
What else is there to just mention? The helpline in the jungle, the Lucasfilm or the LucasArts helpline. That was very funny as a kid. When is Secret Weapons of the Luftwaffe going to ship?
There are only 2 exits out of the room you're in. Just pick one of them.
Yeah, figure it out, Knucklehead.
Chester. Yeah. The music, of course, is something we haven't really discussed that much. So many strong themes, so much kind of beautiful semi-ambient kind of music, and it kind of adds so much more to the environments. Wandering around Fat Town and Villa Dillabuti is like, it just kind of really draws you into the atmosphere, makes it very immersive.
Yeah, some great tracks that stand out, like Wood Tick I've mentioned. Yeah, there's Fat Governor Fat's mansion has a separate theme or version of the leitmotif for the outside, the inside, and when you meet him when he's awake, and when you go into his room when he's asleep.
Yeah.
The Booty Boutique with the Booty Island theme played on that really fast kind of honky-tonk piano.
Yeah,
It's
piano.
great.
Absolutely.
The Underground Tunnels theme from the ending is one of my favourite pieces from the game. And
the first example of the continuing stands theme.
Yeah, which is actually the old folk song Go Tell Aunt Rhody, done in a kind of New Orleans jazz band kind of style.
Yeah.
It's funny listening to... I've listened to the special edition soundtrack a lot, and we'll talk about the special editions more in a separate episode. The re-recorded soundtrack for the Monkey Island 2 special edition seems to really heavily rely on lots of bass clarinet and tenor sax, which I don't
what they had access to.
100% think was always the best choice.
Best decision.
Some stuff gets, I think, kind of flattened out in that re-recording when, funnily enough, the Roland MT32 MIDI is so rich and varied despite being just digital, just synthesized music.
Yeah, but I feel like that matches kind of the pixelated look of the graphics.
Yeah.
You know, if you had... It's like the compression sounds on the voices in Fate of Atlantis. If you had really crisp sound...
It would feel out of place.
Next to this style of graphics, it would feel out of place. Exactly.
That's one of the weird things about playing the ultimate talkie mods of these games.
Yeah, it's they're really at odds, I feel like, these things.
Yeah, I mean, putting aside the fact that some of the voice recording in the special edition sounds a bit like someone was recording in their bathroom or something like that.
Yeah.
It does feel out of place, and I think definitely that's a good point, that these kind of high quality graphics that are kind of low res because they've been scanned, plus that MIDI music does work really well.
Yeah.
If anyone in the comments can explain the provenance of we think it's 1996 CD soundtrack version of the Monkey Island 2 music, and what the deal is with that, I would be really interested to know, because I can't find any information online. I know that it existed; it wasn't something new, but I'm if anyone knows how that came about, I would be interested to know, because the secret 1996 version had that Red Book audio, but Monkey Island 2 didn't, because the iMuse system was so complex that you couldn't record the tracks separately. So when was that soundtrack CD, which seems to be a higher end synthesizer or MIDI technology, and when were those versions of them put together? If someone knows that, please tell us, because I'm very curious.
What keeps you coming back to LeChuck's Revenge?
It's for me, it's just such an excellent progression from what Secret did into such interesting and unusual places, along with the fact that it looks great and sounds great. This is just such an interesting game.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's the atmosphere, the tone, the story, the pacing, and the way it plays out.
Yeah.
It's like you can always watch Return of the Jedi, right? So you can, you can always play this. It's even kind of, just to put it kind of in a sad way, to spend time on wandering around Fat Island or Booty Island. Just those things are enough to kind of draw you back into wanting to play
you can
again.
play through this game at speed, or you can really stuff around and talk to everyone and run through every dialogue choice and read every book in the library and do all sorts of
really
stuff,
immerse
all
yourself.
sorts of optional stuff in this.
And it's all done well enough to make you want to do that.
Yeah.
And there aren't many examples of a game that does that.
No. This is one of a very small number for me of games that have that same kind of ongoing appeal. And I think part of it is the mystery, because it's always fun to go back and play through again and enjoy that feeling too. There, as I say, there are only a couple of other games that I'm really fond of for similar reasons. You know, not one that you have any kind of attachment to, but Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. That's like a very weird, mysterious, strange alternate take on what is usually a pretty traditional series of fantasy games. That has some very, very strange and ambiguous stuff that's kind of comparable to LeChuck's Revenge. And I think that, you know, I think that's that appeal for me is a big part of it. How about you?
Yeah. As I say, as I said, it's all of those things. It's the tone, it's the setting, it's being able to gaze off into the background of Fat Island or whatever, or, you know, those dramatic moments. It's, you know, confronting Largo with the beard and just talking to the voodoo lady, and the discussion with Elaine and all these, the ending with LeChuck.
Yeah.
Spitting on Wally. It's like all of these ingredients come together to make it kind of so great. It also kind of makes it this kind of great weird outlier in the series, and also, like, I think, like, we're LeChuck's Revenge fans, but we're also Monkey Island fans. You know, I like all of these games, some of them more than others, but they're definitely, it's my favourite series of games, and this is just the best one. But I wouldn't want to do without any of them.
No, but I
except maybe Tails.
But I think you're right that this game has certain things that the others don't. Yeah, in terms of the feeling of the scope of it, the characters, and the sense that you feel like you can build up kind of, they're jokey relationships, but there are these, like, Wally is the main one, obviously, who's in so much of the game, but Dread to a certain extent as well, and some of the others, that the sense that there's a really interesting tension between the fact that the world feels so big and so full and so real, and the fact that it feels so fake and artificial and carnivalesque at the same time, which is done really well. But maybe it's the kind of thing that the other games, the later games, didn't need to replicate it. And Curse, when Curse does its own thing, it does it excellently. So,
yeah, that's the thing. And would we have wanted, 5 games of weirdness, of this continued bizarre nature?
Yeah, I don't know.
That would it have just become tired? Oh yeah, that's just a weird Monkey Island thing. It would have gotten too far away from the pirate kind of concept.
I think it's better if you have the ending of LeChuck's Revenge kind of takes those ideas quite far, and then I guess you sort of ratchet it back, which Curse did, and which it looks like Return is going to do as well.
Yeah,
I think. That being said, one of the things that just stands out to me, and I kind of have talked about this before, is the fact that ending, despite being so weird, is so perfect that it doesn't, I don't know, some people don't like the ending of Monkey Island 2, but to me it doesn't feel wrong or out of place at all.
No, it's the best ending.
It's the best ending of any of the games in this series, I think. I mean, Secret, I really fond of the ending of that as well, but for different reasons. But the best ending, and I think it's just, it's so fascinating. I just find that the mystery endlessly appealing. I was just going to say, the image of Guybrush in his pirate outfit and LeChuck, who is this horrible undead monster in a pirate outfit, wandering around, torturing each other in these kind of modern day artificial tunnels. There's something about that image is so... It just gets under my skin.
Yeah.
It really just, latches onto my brain and won't let go. I just find it fascinating.
As you say, it's like two people in costumes wandering around, right?
Yeah,
and forgotten who they
exactly.
were.
It sort of is and it isn't. It's like this collision, but it doesn't feel wrong. It doesn't feel out of place. It feels like these things do go together. It's so hard to put my finger on. I think there's a reason that this was an idea that Ron said he came up with his ending in bed one morning, because this does feel like something that you would come into your head on the edge of sleep.
Yeah, it's something out of a dream. There is so much more to talk about, and we will talk about that in the future. Return
is very close at hand.
With Return coming out the week after next, we probably only have one episode to go before our entire universe is turned upside down by there being 6 Monkey Island games.
I thought you were about to see there be by when we find out that there are going to be 6 Monkey Islands.
Yeah.
And there are going to be 6 monkey heads.
So, not only am I interested in what your experiences were coming to Monkey Island 2, did you play Monkey Island 2 first? Are you one of the slew of people who played Curse first and then went back and played Monkey Island 2? And thought, this is completely different to what I'm used to. But also, what are your predictions for Return to Monkey Island, which is what I think we'll be dealing with next time.
Yeah, I think our last episode before the release will be our final anticipations and predictions.
Yeah.
About Return to Monkey Island.
I'll be thinking about that a lot. Does that mean we've only got one more Monkey Island Monday?
Yes.
Wow. Imagine that coming to an end.
Yeah, it'll be Dave's 5th one, I guess, and then I think Ron said there's only one Monkey Island Monday left until the ultimate Monkey Island Monday, the release of the game.
Yeah. Also, it's September 2022, and we started this podcast in April 2022, and we're 20 episodes in, and I think that's something we should be proud of. I think we've done an okay job.
Yes, and thank you everyone for your comments on the previous episode as well.
It's been really lovely.
Please keep them coming in. It's really nice to not only to read the nice comments, but to hear about everyone's different experiences playing these games.
It's really nice. It's been really nice positive energy around the whole thing, and we'd really like to keep that up.
And it's cool to see that everyone's experiences are a little bit different, but a little bit similar.
Yeah.
At the same time as well, which is really interesting.
Always really nice to hear about. So yeah, that's it. Episode 20. Episode 21 coming up, in which we'll discuss our anticipations around Return to Monkey Island. Thank you for listening.
Final predictions.
Thank you for listening to Rubber Chicken with a podcast in the middle. I, as ever, am Gordon.
And I'm Alastair.
Oh, and one more thing.
Look behind you! A 3-headed monkey!